The 45th Psalm begins not with poetry, but with a heading. In Hebrew it reads, "For the choir master upon lilies, for the sons of Korah, a maskil, a song of loves." It looks like a set of musical instructions, but it is more than that. It encodes an entire model of balance, a triad that binds together three essential forces of human and collective life. Upon lilies represents form and beauty, a structured aesthetic symmetry, like petals gathered around a center. For the sons of Korah invokes lineage and redemption, the weight of historical inheritance, of a people reconciled to their past. And a maskil names contemplative insight, the capacity for self-awareness, reflection, and meaning-making. In the superscription, these forces interdependently sustain one another. Beauty gives rise to meaning, redemption roots wisdom, and insight brings form to life. The choirmaster, the meta-voice, holds this whole arrangement together, shaping relationships without dictating content. This balanced system produces what the heading calls a song of loves, relational harmony, where structure, memory, and understanding converge into something whole. Now, imagine this triad as a way of understanding a political movement, a party, or even a nation. A healthy system, like this superscription, depends on its interlocking relationships. It needs coherent identity, rooted legitimacy, and living insight. When those support one another, the song is strong. But what happens when the balance breaks? The Psalm's second line, its first verse in most English translations, sounds triumphant. "My heart overflows with a good thing. I speak my works to the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready scribe." But here the structure fractures. The Hebrew for overflows carries the sense of instability, a heart spilling beyond its bounds. The good thing, the poet claims, is not evidence of clarity, but a rationalization, a narrative imposed upon confusion. And then comes the decisive shift. "I speak my works to the king." The poet's words no longer belong to the self, or to God, or to the people. They are directed upward, toward power, seeking approval and distribution from the sovereign. This moment is not just a personal crisis, it is a structural one, where the superscription gave us form, inheritance, and insight reinforcing one another. Verse 2 reveals their negation. Form collapses into instability, redemption becomes dependence on external authority, and wisdom gives way to mechanical execution. This dynamic is not confined to ancient poetry. We see the same pattern today inside modern American politics, most clearly within the Republican Party under Donald Trump. Before Trump, the GOP had its own superscriptional balance, a coherent ideological form, an inherited legitimacy defined by philosophy and pragmatism, and supported by an ecosystem of policy debate and intellectual production. That triad has fractured. Identity has overflowed into populist personality politics. Institutional inheritance has been rerouted, not toward principle, but toward loyalty to a single figure. And the contemplative function, the think tanks, the internal policy discourse, the independent voices, has been hollowed out. Like the poet, lawmakers speak to the king. They become scribes, transcribing rather than originating. From the outside, though, both the psalm and our politics can appear whole. The poet writes elegantly, the song sounds complete. In the same way, the modern GOP projects unity-confident messaging, synchronized priorities, disciplined media cycles. But beneath the surface, the balance has been replaced by what we can call a false equilibrium. In the psalm, the triad's components still exist, but they orbit absence. Beauty, inheritance, and insight interact, but around what has been hollowed out. Inside the GOP, the appearance of cohesion hides deep fractures. What once bound the party together, shared ideology, institutional identity, and reflective debate, has given way to dependence on a centralizing figure. Lawmakers who attempt independent authorship are marginalized, stripped of committees, pushed from leadership. This system sustains itself, but not through vitality. It sustains itself through loss. Words remain, but meaning thins. Structures function, but they no longer generate renewal. It is a balance built on disconnection, and like all such balances, it is fragile. This is where the Psalm's insight sharpens. When meaning breaks, people seek safety by outsourcing authorship. The poet, unable to resolve inner instability, directs speech upward to the king. The tongue becomes a pen, carrying out another's will. We see the same logic playing out in politics. In a healthy party, authority flows outward, distributing power across institutions, thinkers, and voters. But in a party structured around a central figure, meaning flows inward. Representatives and senators stop writing their own works. They await signals, calibrate statements to a leader's approval, and align with messaging crafted elsewhere. The voice of the party narrows, dissent becomes exile. Figures like Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, and Adam Kinzinger attempted to reclaim an older inheritance, the sons of Korah, node in our triad, and were expelled. This is not just partisanship, it is a deeper structural transformation. When the contemplative function, the maskil, is hollowed out, speech no longer originates in understanding. It originates in compliance. Eloquence remains, but the song is compromised at its root. The psalm does not end in despair, and neither must our politics. The collapse we see in verse 2 is not its conclusion, it is its necessary descent. The psalm stages the loss of balance so that restoration can be imagined, not by reversing the past, but by passing through the fracture. This matters for us now. If American political life, and the Republican Party especially, is to recover its capacity for authentic authorship, it cannot simply wish away Trump's dominance or revert to an older order. The old balance cannot simply be restored. The descent has revealed vulnerabilities we did not understand. How easily meaning is ceded, how fragile institutional inheritance can be, how quickly beauty detaches from wisdom when power intervenes. Real restoration, the kind the psalm models later, requires rebuilding new relationships between form, lineage, and insight. It requires redistributing authorship, re-establishing legitimacy beyond a single figure, and reintegrating reflective thought into public speech. It means learning to sing again, but with a deeper awareness of how easily songs are co-opted. Psalm 45, read this way, is not just devotional poetry, it is a map. It shows us how wholeness arises, how it fractures, and how it might be rebuilt. It names the forces that generate meaning, beauty, inheritance, understanding, and, well, it warns us what happens when they are displaced by external power. We stand in a moment where many voices overflow. Expression is everywhere, on cable news, social platforms, and political stages. But much of it, like the poet's tongue, has become the pen of a ready scribe. It is authored elsewhere, transmitted rather than generated, strategically performed rather than authentically spoken. We stand in a moment where many voices overflow. Expression is everywhere, on cable news, social platforms, and political stages. But much of it, like the poet's tongue, has become the pen of a ready scribe. It is authored elsewhere, transmitted rather than generated, strategically performed rather than authentically spoken. The returning wisdom of the Psalms is this: meaning cannot be outsourced indefinitely. A movement, a party, even a nation cannot sustain itself by directing its voice upward toward a single authority. To find stability again, we must reweave the relationships the superscription sets out for us. Beauty must be grounded in history, not spectacle. Institutional inheritance must serve collective redemption, not personal loyalty. Insight must be restored as the seat of authorship, allowing reflection to guide speech rather than power. Psalm 45 begins with a song of loves, a vision of harmonious interconnection. It then stages the tragedy of alienation and finally gestures toward the possibility of return. This same arc now confronts us in our politics. We can remain scribes in someone else's song, or we can become choir masters again, finding the rhythm that reconnects form, memory, and meaning. That is the choice the psalm leaves us with, and it is the choice we face today.